And when's your next personnel?
We will not probably have one until probably June now. This will be two back.
Maybe we're in favor of just spending the night for the judge to make you think what reporter. So it's the case because I know we got that for Judge Coach. I talked to Judge Coach.
For the request tonight?
We don't have to do that for the magistrate of Judge Coach, but for the court reporter or the closing court reporter. Is there any way we can spend a little?
I would have to talk to Ted on that. I'm not sure because we held everyone else to that standard.
Okay, everybody, it is 6 o'clock. We are going to go ahead and get started. I'll call this meeting of the County Council, April 12th, 2022, to order. Councilman Reese, would you mind leading us in prayer?
Oh, gracious Father, we want to thank you once again for allowing us to assemble and build in your kingdom. Father, I want to thank you and hope that you continue to bless everyone who's here tonight, here on the council, as well as those audiences here, and those who attempted to come and try to be with us tonight. And Father, we ask you that you take care of our responders and all those families out there that need your help, especially those overseas, Father. Put a special blessing on our leadership across this country, across the nation, and abroad, Father. We ask you these things in your name we pray, Father. Amen.
Now, if you'll join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Todd, would you take the roll, please?
Councilman Reese.
Here.
Councilwoman Likens.
Here.
Councilman Alexander.
Present.
Councilman Steele.
Here.
Councilman Emery.
Here.
Councilman Vaughn.
Present.
President Gale.
Here. Okay, let's see. I would accept a motion to approve the minutes for the March 8th, 2022 meeting.
I make a motion that the minutes be approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman Reese, a second by Councilman Vaughn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The minutes have been approved. Now I would accept a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion to approve by Councilman Emery.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Likens. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The agenda is approved. I have no specific comments tonight. Rick, do you have anything for the auditor's report?
Good evening, Council. Just wanted to go over a couple numbers that I shared last month. As we reported last month, we had debt in 2018 of $14 million plus. We're down now to our debt this year at $8 million. Our cash balance, we're shooting still for a $9 million cash operating balance. Some might think that's a surplus number. That's not a surplus. That's your cash operating balance that you have to pay your expenses for the next 6 months between cash draws from property taxes. So keep that in mind. Now, that's all based on council action throughout the next 8 months, whether or not that fluctuates or not, and a couple of things to actually keep an eye on. I had a discussion with the sheriff the other day because I was concerned about the price of gasoline. Well, the price of gasoline is over double what it was last year. So I could see the sheriff's department for his patrol cars needing probably in excess of $50,000 in addition this year just because of the price of gasoline. Now, most county employees, or all county employees, actually pretty much have access to the highway department, which they should be getting that gas, which is locked in the $2 and something range. So I would advise to go there when at all possible. The sheriff's department doesn't have that luxury, and we're working with him, or I just spoke with him the other day, and we're working to see if somehow we can get discounts somewhere to try to curb some of that price, and sheriff's great to work with when it comes to things like that. Our rainy day fund should be a minimum of $5.7 million by the end of this year. If we find that we have tax sale surplus items anywhere that we can bring to the council and move that to the rainy day fund, it just depends where those end up. We have two every year that we can look at once a 3-year mark has passed. If there's money still sitting in those funds, and roll those into the rainy day fund. So it could be a little bit more than that, but right now $5.7 million. Keep in mind at the end of 2019 you had $36,000 in there. So we're heading the right way on that. We're heading the right way on debt. Our general fund cash balance is stabilized, and keep in mind also since 2018 we've been fortunate enough to earn through the treasurer's investments over $1 million in a general fund alone, plus other funds that he might have invested in. And keep in mind, we not only have, we talk about the general fund all the time, or public safety fund, but there's actually 256 funds that our office manages, and so many of those are grant funds related to specific items, whether it be the ARPA fund, which we're dealing with right now, small grants for police vests, and a variety of things, but there's 256 funds we actually manage. So those are for a variety of very specific uses, but I like where we're going, especially from where we've been in past years. We're heading on the right track, and I would encourage us to continue on that road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the
I have
auditor?
a question. Those you say we have quite a few grants in some of those funds. You know, several years ago, if you remember, we I think it was Councilman Sumner went back and looked through a lot of the different accounts, and there were some funds that were like remaining money that wasn't spent. Do we do that anymore? Or do we do that?
Yes, we manage those. That's one of the 200. That's many of the 256 different funds we manage. Grant funds are specific. If you don't spend that grant money, then it gets sent back. So those are very specific. But like the tax sale funds, when there's money sitting in there that might have been sitting in there past the 3-year mark, we can roll those to the general fund. Those are very limited, but they do exist, and it's mainly those. There could be something else. We found at one point, I think there was some old COIT money where COIT went to lit and all that, and the state requires to leave it in the COIT fund for a period of time, and then at some point we can move that over, and we did. Things like that, but it's kind of limited, but sometimes it does happen.
Hey, Rick, the county has a gas depot out there for county highway and other county vehicles. The sheriff's department, I believe, has their own gas cards. They go to pumps.
They do. They use what's called
Would
a
it be-
Lex card.
Wouldn't it be better to, since gas is going up, and I don't know if we can fix it this year or look into it, that everybody get their stuff and it'd be cheaper to buy in bulk? Would that be, would that be a goal?
They would have a limit on gallons, I believe. I'm not sure what that limit is. The highway department purchases that, but it wouldn't be feasible for the sheriff's department to be up in Duck Creek and then have to run back to the highway department to fill up their tank when they're monitoring up there. So, but most everybody's leaves from Madison County, from Anderson area. So those people are really required to get their gas out there if they're driving a county vehicle, but the sheriff's department is a little bit different than the rest.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Under new business, we have out-of-state travel, the prosecutor's office.
Good evening, Andrew Hannon, Chief Deputy Prosecutor. Betsy Baxter, who is our Director of our Victim Advocacy Program, is at a funeral, so she's running a little late. There's 2 requests that have been submitted for out-of-state travel, one for 2 victims advocates, and then one was 2 deputy prosecutors, but it's just one at this point in time, going to the International Conference of Sexual Assault, Domestic Violence, and Reimagining Justice conference. That's in San Francisco from April 19th through the 21st, and then a second out-of-state travel request for the National Organization of Victim Assistance Annual Conference, and that's all of our victim advocates that are attending that conference. That's 6 of them, and that's July 31st through August 5th, and that's in Denver.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Vaughn, a second by Councilman Reese. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, that's approved.
Thank you, Council.
Next, elevator repairs, Andy Kidder.
Good evening, council. My name is Andy Kidder. I'm the acting property manager for the maintenance department. Right now, we have found that we have a dire need to repair an elevator at the jail. It is their main elevator that they use to move food, their goods, and also their inmates. This is a very unforeseen repair we're going to have to do. It's $36,000. Right now, I have the money in a budget line to be able to do it. That way we can go ahead and start it, and we've actually already went and ordered and got the ball rolling on all that. But I wanted to bring it to you guys and let you be aware that that's going to eat up almost 50% of what I have left over in my budget for the year for those services. So I'm probably going to have to come back and request more money for that, but I wanted to make you guys aware of it.
What happened to it?
Thank you.
The floor on it has just got bad over the years, and to fix the floor, they have to completely disassemble what's called the car, and then repair the floor, then put it all back together and bring it to safety standards.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Motion approved?
There's nothing to approve on this one. He's just
He's not
informing us
asking for-
that it's eating into his budget. He may have to come back later in the year, so. Thank you very much. Next, we have transfers that were presented to us. Would there be a motion on the transfers?
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve transfers in mass as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the transfers in mass by Councilman Emery. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Steele. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? That passes. Thank you. We have some new money being requested, but this is from grant funds. So first is the Health Department. Is Deputy Manager here?
Good evening, Staff Manager, Health Department. I'm asking for $15,000. It's a grant, actually for hazmat training.
Okay.
Make a motion approved?
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Vaughn.
Second.
Second by Councilman Reese. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
That passes. Next, we have another grant fund, court interpreter grant by the courts.
That's way down. Debbie Blackman, Court Admin. It's an interpreter grant for $3,101.49.
Okay.
Make a motion approved?
Motion to approve by Councilman Vaughn.
Second.
Second by Councilman Reese. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Thank you. The only remaining new money request is a request from Public Safety, and this is a little bit of a different situation. So is there someone from the courts that wants to?
Thank you, Council. Judge Steve Coaster with Madison Circuit Court 2. You guys thought you were going to get out of here quick today, but I've got quite a bit to talk about here today. I got to kind of give you a background of everything that I do in order to understand the request that we are seeking here today. I do have the statutory authority for what I'm requesting. I've got copies for each of you on there. This is a unique opportunity for Madison County to get a juvenile magistrate. The statute allows for each juvenile judge to request one magistrate, and the only issue is the state pays most of it, but the county by statute has to pay this $41,000 that we're requesting. And the request, as it was submitted, is actually wrong because it's asking for PERF and group insurance, but this is a state position. This is a state judicial officer, so you can strike the group insurance and the PERF because the state will pay all the benefits. The county would be responsible for FICA for the $41,000, $393. That is the county's portion, but we would not be responsible for anything else as far as benefits are concerned. Now, where this request comes in is, again, through the juvenile court. When you hear juvenile court, you think of delinquency proceedings, which is one part of what I do 2 days a week, but the remaining portion is through DCS cases, and that's the abuse and neglect cases that we have here in Madison County, and that's what I do the bulk of my work on. And again, this is a golden opportunity that the Supreme Court has given to Madison County by authorizing this, if you guys grant this request. I think most people know abuse and neglect cases here in Madison County are at an epidemic proportion. Right now, we're sitting at over 500 kids who are in foster care in Madison County. So those are the cases that I deal primarily with. When I took over as judge in that court, I took a different approach to it, and it's more of a hands-on approach. Historically in Madison County, DCS has been allowed to do what they do on those cases. The court just kind of sits back and lets them go about what they do. When I took over, I wanted to be a little more hands-on. So, you know, you're talking about in Madison County, it's mostly drugs. That's what most of these people are getting their children removed for. And it's not marijuana. We don't remove for marijuana. We move for meth and heroin. It's mostly meth right now. And when I'm dealing with these cases, I'm going through every report, every request from DCS, every request from the parents. I'm looking at, we're having hearings, and basically I'm in court all day, every day. Monday through Friday, I'm in the courtroom, either doing the juvenile delinquency stuff or the DCS stuff. What that is causing is every administrative position, every administrative thing that I do, every report that I read, every order that I sign, every motion that I have to address, I do on nights and weekends. So in essence, I'm about 12 hours a day doing juvenile court, and I really need another judicial officer to help me with that. Right now I have a part-time commissioner who is hearing all DCS stuff, and then some of my civil docket, which I also have, I have some help on that as well, but I still do some of those each week as well. I had tried to address this through the ARPA funds. What I was going to do was take that commissioner position, which is a half-time position, and in essence use that money to fund this magistrate. But what I need is the way these cases work, and again, this is a little background of what we do in juvenile court. We try as best we can to reunite these kids with their parents. That's the main goal. That's what we try to do. It doesn't always work. The statutes for juvenile court say that after 1 year, we're supposed to seek termination of parental rights if they haven't got to a point where they're reunited with their kids. Historically in Madison County, it's been 2, 3, 4, 5+ years before that happens. We're trying to shore that up, but what happened with the pandemic was that they stopped hearing those cases. So now we have a huge backlog of children who are just in flux. There's no permanency for them. I heard a number today that DCS could file 600 TPRs if we could hear them. Right now we have a half-day scheduled to hear TPRs. And they've requested that I hear more. We can't. There's no time on the schedule. So what I want to do is dedicate the half-time commissioner to hearing the backlog of the TPR cases. In 3 years, I think that we can get caught up on those. And then that would eliminate then that commissioner position, which would then fund this magistrate. So the money that I'm requesting today, eventually you're going to get back, and you actually get more back because the state is paying the benefits for this position. We're paying the benefits for the commissioner. I tried to get the ARPA funds. That was denied. I don't know why. We haven't heard back from them yet why. That still could happen. If that does happen, he'll get the money back quicker. Worst case scenario is you'll get this money back in 3 years. So that's kind of where, again, this is a very short version, and I'll be happy to take any questions about what we're doing.
Judge, how many cases, I know that the Children Needs Services, and you do probably, but those, to me, are sensitive cases. Very sensitive because they deal with kids. What would you say your backlog? I think I heard you say 3 years.
The number I heard today was they could file 600 cases.
But I mean, as of now, what's your backlog? Because we've talked and you said you're backlogged. These kids are waiting to get in front of you and.
Right. Yeah. Well, we had a point where they weren't filing any of the TPR cases. They're filing some now, but we can only hear so many. So.
Oh, wow. That's how much is not even filed in front of you yet.
Yeah, literally, there are 600 cases that could be filed for termination of parental rights. And, again, those are trials. They're basically trials. So each one of those has to be heard, and most of them are heard. Some of them get worked out, so it's not all that bad. But generally, on a regular year, we file between 200 and 250 of those a year. And we just can't keep up the pace that we're going now with the backlog.
You probably don't see it slowing down, I'm sure.
No, not anytime soon.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
When I first saw this in the council packet, I had some correspondence with Judge Coaster. Typically, for a new employee, we would have to go through the personnel committee, that process. He made me aware of the statutory requirement on this and that it would be an exception. And so I reached out to our county council attorney just to make sure I was fully understanding. So I wanted to ask Ted if he would come up and just address the statutory issue there. Just because this is a different situation than what we usually do.
This is one of those situations where you really don't have any discretion. The judge has the authority to appoint a magistrate, and the council shall appropriate money to pay the salary. So, judge is kind enough to come up here and explain what he needs and everything, and that's great. But again, this state's sort of said that we have to do it. So, vote how you will, but at the end of the day, the judge can make you do it regardless. So,
right. Thank you, Ted. I just wanted to make sure we address that. And also, Judge Coaster, I do appreciate you coming and informing us. I think that's helpful just so that we all understand more of what you do and the challenges you're facing. So, are there any other questions?
How much were you needing, Judge?
It is $41,393 plus the FICA, which is $2,860.
Take care of everything you need.
Yes.
I make a
motion.
Councilman Reese?
I make a motion that the request.
I'm sorry, Councilman Reese. I'll get back to you.
That's fine.
Because this is a new appropriation under public safety, or from public safety, we also are required to open up for public comment regarding this particular request that's made. So if there is anyone from the public that wants to speak specifically to this issue, I would ask you to come up to the podium, introduce yourself, and try to make your comments within 3 minutes. So.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Moore. I'm a local attorney. Some of you I know, some of you I don't. I am here, however, as an individual attorney and also as a 60-plus year resident in Madison County. Judge Coaster was very accurate in his comments. This is a sensitive time for the children in the Chin's court because so much has been disrupted by the COVID responses that we had to have. What happens at the end of a time when we've not been able to successfully reunite a child with his or her family, that child is in limbo until the court can hear whether termination should occur and decide, is that the right option or is there something else to do? You all who have children know the time from a child's birth up until the child is 17 or 18, that's not a time for a child to be in limbo. And we've got some children in these cases who have been in limbo for years. There's no fault from anyone. When I came into the county and got to see some of these cases happening, there has been some really creative means of handling some of these cases with doing things on video court and the like. It's been pretty impressive. But it still gets down to the fact that you have to have lawyers presenting evidence on both sides, and you have to have a judge hearing it, and then deciding, and then reviewing orders that are voluminous, because when you talk about the termination cases, these are what the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court call, in the juvenile world, the akin of a death penalty case. Essentially, that family relationship could be dying. It's exceedingly important, and they are looked at very carefully at appellate review. We need additional judicial officers to hear the evidence so that a decision can be made one way or the other. We can't leave these children out dangling in limbo. So I rise in support of what Judge Koester is requesting.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm glad you are in support, because it doesn't sound like we have a choice either way.
And again, I just want to point out that as soon as I can, I am certainly appreciative of the fiscal responsibility that you guys have shown throughout the years, and this year especially. And as soon as we have the opportunity to, and we get this backlog caught up, we will make it so that you're getting this money and some back. So I just want you to know that the courts are cognizant of that as well.
Was there anyone else from the public that wanted to speak to this issue? Okay, well then, Councilman Reese, do you possibly want to make a motion?
Yes, sir. I want to make a comment real quick.
Okay.
I had experience with Judge Koester and his courts, and it in a particular situation there, it took quite a long time to kind of get things through. And I know you were new going in, so you had to go through that learning curve as well. So, but it really bothered me that you have to be working on the weekends and 12 hours over. Seriously, because I know you're a family man, and here we try to make sure we accommodate folks who do what you do, and especially by making sure if we can help you. I want to know, is it enough to make sure that we get us, because this is pretty important as far as our kids to go through things, but is this enough? And if it needs more, then I think you need to come back and let us know so we can make sure this process moves as fast as possible.
Well, I appreciate it, Mr. Reese and my family. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment, Councilman Gale. Recently you heard, I'm not going to name names, a couple of cases I heard that you heard, and I just want to say, Judge Koester, that I respect you and I appreciate you. At first, they said he looks mean, but you were fair. The mom said that he was a really good judge, so I said, well, he can smile maybe a little bit more. But I appreciate your time, because I hear some juveniles coming in front of me, and you try to get chances. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bequest of 49.
It is 44,253.
Just what the chairman said.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Councilman Reese, a second by Councilman Vaughn. Is there any discussion?
I have one question. Judge Koester, with the addition of the new positions in the prosecutor's office dealing with juvenile truancy and other issues, do you also see an increase in your workload in your court as well?
Actually, yes, because I have now also taken over the criminal educational neglect and the compulsory attendance cases as well. So in juvenile court, I hear the truancy cases, the kids that are missing school, but I'm also hearing the criminal cases of the adults that have got to the point where they're not making their kids go to school. So that has greatly increased the workload, and the prosecutor's office has done a really good job of bringing those cases to me. So,
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Judge Koester, I have a question. Relative to the state legislature's decision to allow judges to sentence level 6 felons to state facilities, do you see that changing the jail population in Madison County?
I don't deal with those types of cases much, but as the chief deputy prosecutor for years, I saw that. It will make a little bit of effect, but not much. We don't sentence a lot of people to jail just because of the fact that we had an overcrowding problem. So that will help, I think, hold more level 6 felons accountable, that we can send them to prison now. But that hasn't been happening a lot because the judges are cognizant of the fact that if we put them in jail, that's taking up a space for someone else that is probably of a more serious nature that needs to be there.
Judge Coaster, real quick. We talked about a floating court reporter, but, so you get this new, obviously you're gonna hear more cases. Would it be better for, obviously that's gonna back up some cases, put them in the docket sheets and get them in front of you. How many court reporters do you have where that they can keep up with the filing after having the second judge, the magistrate?
It'll be more of a strain on my staff, but they'll get it done. I mean, I don't have any issue with that whatsoever. The floating court reporter that we're going to be requesting once it gets through the process is more for the backlog of the level 6 felons that we have in the jail. It's going to be the primary duty, and once we get that under control, then yeah, they can help in my court as well if need be. That's the idea of it being floating, is it will help wherever it's needed. But right now, that need is strictly for the level 6 felons that are sitting in jail that we need to get processed through.
So your court reporter's gonna be okay then?
It'll be a strain on them, but they will do it.
Something just to think about, maybe. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other conversation?
Call for the question.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes. Thank you very much. We do have a few salary ordinances that go along with things that were approved. First is salary ordinance 2022-4C, an ordinance modifying 2022 salaries in the general fund for juvenile probation. This is a first reading. Would there be a motion?
Make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion by Councilman Emery,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Likens. Is there any discussion? And just as a reminder, if the council votes unanimously, this passes. If it doesn't, it moves forward to a second reading at our next meeting. Hearing no questions or discussion.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This is after the budget 21, right? This is after you guys already passed the budget. They're asking for more money?
That was in a transfer that was approved, I believe. So this is just a modification of their salary line because of the transfer. So it's not costing the county any additional.
Okay.
I can address that if you
We're good. We're good.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? My ears say that passed unanimously, so that passed on first reading. Next, we have salary ordinance 2022-4D, an ordinance modifying 2022 salaries in the VOCA grant fund. Would there be a motion?
So moved.
We have
Second.
a motion by Councilman Emery, a second by Councilman Bond. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes on first reading as well. The last of the salary ordinances, it's a first reading before we get to the second reading, goes in line with the juvenile magistrate position, which we have approved because the state law says we have to. One question, Ted, I don't know if you're the guy to answer this, but the salary ordinance here says 41,393, which is the salary. That doesn't include the FICA. Does the FICA number need to be on this? Or Rick, would you? Okay, so we're just approving the change in the salary line, not the, okay.
Make a motion approved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Councilman Bond,
Second.
second by Councilman Steele. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes as well. The last one is the second ordinance, salary ordinance 2022-3D amended, an ordinance modifying 2022 salaries in the general fund for emergency management. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Councilman Emery,
Second.
second by Councilman Steele. Is there any discussion?
What, is this the one with the emergency management that Mr. Richmond walked out on me on?
No, that one did not pass the council's vote for the appropriation. This is something.
No, that was for the administrator. This is the one I was questioning about, the commissioner about. This is for emergency management. What is this one?
Deputy Director and Administrator, let me see, I don't have last month's
That's what I was
packet
gonna
with me, but this was not for the raise in the.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about, this is the other for emergency management. So
They were back to back on the agenda, but that's not the.
Right. So this is one that we approved,
Through
the
Commissioner.
appropriation.
but what positions are these for? For emergency management?
Deputy Director and Administrator.
President Gale,
Yes, sir.
this position was just getting the right titles to the right people.
Okay.
So it was this-
So this is all this is?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved?
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Vaughn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Emery. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That passes as well. Do we have any committee reports?
We do, Mr. President.
Okay.
I apologize, I left a copy for the council on my printer when I walked out the door. I just realized it was in my bag. But I have my notes here that I can give you, and then I will email the council a copy of that this evening. Personnel Committee met on March 28, 2022 at 6 p.m. with following members present: Councilman Fred Reese, Councilman Rob Steele, and Chair Anthony Emery. We only had one person on the agenda for the evening, and that was Mr. David Kane from the Community Justice Center. Mr. Kane brought to our attention that since taking over as the director, he uncovered a potential problem with the Community Justice Center that's really kind of shocking and surprising once we heard about it. The fact that there is not any training coordinator position or any annual training that is really taking place and records being kept on. Community Corrections operates 2 facilities out there, as we know. They got approximately up to 278 criminal offenders. And this definitely creates a safety and liability issue for our officers and for the county. And we do not have annual training taking place and also training records being procured for that training. We have an average of 81 employees out there. And again, there's no formal training plan in place at all for our folks working there. That was something that, again, I kind of found quite shocking when we look at what's going on across the nation, and definitely was an added need that we felt that needed to go out there. Mr. Kane did quite a bit of research and presented a plan to us to add a training coordinator's position with an annual pay of $46,500. The question was asked of him if this person would complete all the training for the officers, and the answer to that was no, that this would be the coordinator. They would indeed do some training, but they would also reach out to other agencies that have certified instructors and coordinate the training to come in, and also cross-train with other agencies as well. And this person could be utilized by other agencies as well. This person then would not only put together a training plan, but they would coordinate all the training and also keep training records. Thank goodness we haven't had any serious injuries or deaths of incarcerated folks out there, and somebody come and ask for a training record. That just scares me to think about that. That we've just been fortunate that we've not had that situation. So this was something that I did ask Mr. Kane to get to us as quick as possible. And I think we might have missed the cutoff for the advertisement for new money for this, but this request will be coming before us next month. And I would strongly encourage all 3 members of the Personnel Committee voted in favor to approve this request, and I would encourage all the council members to do so as well when it comes before us next month, because the liability to the county not having this training coordinator position in there and folks receiving training that's not only required of them, but is necessary for just day-to-day operations and dealing with incarcerated folks. So,
well, thank you for that. That's very important that we are made aware of that. Thank you very much.
Councilman Gale, can I ask a question real quick? Just to
Sure.
Mr. Kane. Can you give me an update? You did HARPA funds, and are you under construction with that new security? Kind of your plan was that, we talked about that. Is that going okay, or are you kind of?
Mr. Kane, I'm sorry, would you mind coming to the podium?
Yeah, sorry.
Hi, David Kane, the Executive Director of Community Corrections. So the ARPA money, The project hasn't begun construction yet. We have the contractors who have come in, 3 different contractors have come in. We've gotten nothing back from them formally yet, but they made repeat trips in to re-examine what we're trying to accomplish, come up with drawings, come up with a plan. And then, of course, that is being coordinated with the repair of the community justice building, which was damaged by a vehicle running into it. So it's those things coming together. But it's moving forward, but we're not there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that gets us to the end of the agenda. Would there be a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Reese, a second by Councilman Ahn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.